Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on this edition of The Inside. I am Babla Jonathan. In today's edition of the program, we're going to be analyzing, we'll be looking at the protection of public peace and order in the Republic of Cameroon and the violation of human rights, the violations of the rights of the people. Cameroon has ratified a number of international legal instruments protecting the rights of the citizens to peaceful demonstrations or peaceful protests, including the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the first protocol or optional protocol on the International Civil and the International Convention or Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and the 1981 African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the 1998 Protocol on the African Court on Human and People's Rights, and of course the preamble of the 1972 Constitution of the Republic also makes provision for peaceful protests in the Republic, and the principal legislation governing assemblies is law number 90/55 of 1990. These legal instruments are applied in the Republic of Cameroon, but the application of these legal instruments are often attributed or is often attributed to the violation of the rights of citizens in the country. And recently we had a case here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, with the presence of the national president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM political party, Professor Maurice Kamto, who wanted to meet with some militant sympathizers and of course people in the regional capital of the littoral region, Douala, economic capital of Cameroon, and he also wanted to launch his book, but his presence in the country's economic capital was characterized by a heavy deployment of police officers who put him under what can be considered as a house arrest, and of course the launching of his book was prohibited by the authorities. And when these actions occur, the argument of the authorities is of course the protection of public peace and order, but this is often interpreted as a violation of the rights of citizens. We're going to take a look at this in some few seconds. Meet our guest. To my right, Kedia Robert. He's a politician, member of the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, CPDM political party. Kedia Robert, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Greetings to you. I would like to thank your institution, Equinoxe, for giving the opportunity for my party to be here to express my own view and ideology with respect to the stand of my political party. Greetings to my co-panelists and all our viewers, especially Honorable Galadjure. Thank you.
Right to my left now, Mutaga Silvanus is the special advisor, one of the special advisors of the national president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM political party, Professor Maurice Kamto. Mutaga Silvanus, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Babula Jonathan, and a special good evening to the millions of televiewers of this prestigious and pertinent program, The Insight on Equinoxe Television. Permit me use this opportunity to extend a message of condolences to the parents of the kids that were murdered at Ekondo Titi, and to tell the militants of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement who are in prison since the 22nd of September 2020 that the CRM is not relenting. They saw Professor Maurice Kamto came here in the nation's economic capital, Douala, paid them a visit on the 30th of November past at the New Bay prison, where he went there in discretion and visited a good number of them and dialogued with them. I was present there with the other special advisor, Honorable Abed Zonga, and it was quite very calm there. There wasn't any chaos there, and we left there peacefully. You can imagine how the penitentiary milieu is. If Professor Maurice Kamto could go there and it did not cause any commotion and he come back, it would not have been different from what happened there in the book launch that unfortunately did not hold here at Sambaka's cabaret at Unaprezo.
Right, we'll begin with one of the issues that you highlighted, notably the killing of some students in Equinoxe Titi in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. This was coming after a gendarme officer guns down a pupil in Boya, and a police officer killed or guns down pupil in Bamenda. And before this, we had the situation that occurred at the International Mother Francisca International College in Kumba, where some students were killed. And this has been going on and on. Now, during the memorial service for the students, so in honor of the students who died in the shooting in the Kondo Titi, a man of God said that we know the right thing that should be done, and that right thing must be done now. And he said that if the use of force has failed, then we should use another strategy, which he called dialogue, which has, however, been going on already with the major national dialogue and other discussions that have been going on. Now, when the man of God says, we know the right thing to do, and that right thing must be done, what's your understanding of that?
Mr. Babula Jonathan, there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof leads to eternal damnation. That is what the Holy Scripture says. And the man of God is not mincing words. He's not speaking water. He didn't speak with water in his mouth. We have to call a spade a spade. The regime in place knows very well that the issues at hand that have been raised by the indigenous people of the northwest and southwest region have to be handled politically. It's not an issue that you need to use a gun, because when we look at the different points of contact that existed, that of 1961 and even the modification of the Constitution in 1972, 1984, I'm sure all those went wrong. The changing of the name of Cameroon from the Federal Republic to the United Republic by Ajo, and from the United Republic to the Unitary State to the Republic of Cameroon, by President Biya, and the existence of the cohabitation of the Anglophones and the Francophones has never been with the force of the rifle and the rifle. So it has always been as a result of a dialogue. So he's telling the regime in place and the separatist leaders alike too that if they have tried the gun and the bazooka for bazooka is not working, it's time they should seek alternative avenues. And he's calling the regime in place, that Mr. Biya's regime, to consider applying the advice that has been given, the method, the strategies that has been advocated by international partners, the European Union, you have the United Nations, the United States of America, and Great Britain, because we know for certain that the European Parliament has been advocating for a peaceful resolution to the of the Anglophone crisis and the war in the northwest and southwest region. But that's not the case. And what the man of God just said, I think, to summarize it, he's saying it's high time somebody told them that ceasefire is paramount, because if there isn't ceasefire, there cannot be a
way out of the situation.
Like
right.
I said, that's the gospel truth.
KJ Robert, he says, the man of God says, we know the right thing that should be done, and we have to do that. To you, what's that thing?
The right thing to do is for us to dialogue. And me, I have my own perspective looking at this dialogue. The government will do its possible best, but it is time that us indigenous people, that their grandfathers and forefathers come from the northwest region, I don't want to use the word Anglophone, it's time for us in those regions to sit and stop the problem there. Those that have picked up arms are our brother. We know everything, we should not mix up, because we need peace, we want the killings to stop, and we need to look our brother in the face and say things the way we need to say. We have villages that separatist fighters have been kicked out of those villages, and those villages are at peace. We've seen many of them at the social media. Then we also have villages that citizens are collaborating with them. That too we cannot debunk, and we see what is actually happened. Why will I conclude by saying so? I'm not politicizing this. I'm not allowing my party to influence me over this, because I am an origin from there and I want peace to be there. We saw what happened at, for instance, in Boya, where a child was killed. The indigents of Boya came out, walking their masses, went up to the governor's office. But when at St. Francisco College at Kumba, the people came out, they killed the child. We didn't see the indigents to come out in their masses, to go where the ambas are, to eradicate the violence of their actions on students that had simply just carried out their fundamental human right of education. So we have a problem where, when it concerns the military, people will come out in Bamenda and Boya, but where it concerns the military, where it concerns the Amba, they know where they are in the bushes, but they will say they don't know, then they will decide to instead start to accuse the government. That's why I say, when we will stop all this taking of position. Yes, I may have had my own position, which everybody knows, but it's time for us to forget about our position and look for the way to peace.
But without defending any party, without standing for any party, who is responsible for the security of the people? Who has the primary responsibility for the security, the safety, and the well-being of the people? The Amber Boys or the government?
Oh, no, the Amber Boys have nothing to do. We have to do one. The person responsible for the security of the people and their property is the government. And two, every Cameroonian legally has a fundamental duty, because us Cameroonians, we have our duty. And one of the duties which we have, pay our taxes and the rest, one of the duties that all Cameroonians must participate in the security of their nation. So as we are saying that it is the duty of the government, we should also know that with regard to duty of citizens, it is our duty also to participate in the security of our nation.
The security and the safety starts from individual levels, and of course the government has the authority, the responsibility for collective security. If that is the case, that is of course the case, why are you saying that the people should go to the separatists, to go to the separatist armed groups and so on?
Yes, because the case of Boko Haram, the Northerners stood as one and attacked Boko Haram with the support of the government military. There was a collaboration between the people of the North and the government to be able to battle that. Which you are a journalist, you have more information even than me standing here. You know about I don't know how they call these things when young boys in the quarter are being assisted with knives, sticks, and machetes to participate. I don't know, is it anti-gang or something of that sort?
Vigilante
committees, which the people of the Grand North did, and they collaborated with the military. So you realize that it has to do with collaboration between the two group of people. So the citizens have their role to play, and the government have their role to play. But permit me, if there is time for me, to go into the detail, because the government is actually putting all possible best to be able to solve this problem. But we are faced with three different problems, which we must identify it and explain to people that these are the various problems we have, these are the various solutions we have, and this is the way forward. We have gone past the time that we will come on TV and start to say the government is irresponsible, the government have not done that, the Amber have done that. We have passed that. Thousands have fallen. It's time for us to stop the singing that the Amber is responsible, the government is responsible. It's time for us to get to the solution of the problem.
To look for the solution.
And to look for the solution, we must know the problem. And when it concerns the problem, people have their own divergence and their own definition of the problem, which to me is different. Because looking at the problem, I see them in three dimensions, which if I have time, I'll be able to explain here.
All right, let me give you some time to explain that. Yes, go ahead.
Good. We have the problem of separation. The problem of separation started after the Eastern Regional Crisis when we left Nigeria in 1953, where Emmanuel Mbelalifafa Endele wanted us to join Nigeria, where Foncha and Solomon Tandemona wanted us to join La Republique, and Mbile wanted us to be as a country. He was a minority group, but these two majority, their differences at the London Conference, at the Manfred 1 and Manfred 2 Conference, and these their differences made the United Nations now to impose two questions. Will you join Nigeria or will you join La Republique du Cameroon? And that minority that was already existing, that wanted independence, that is where the separation comes from. It's different from
so there's a problem of
it is separation aside. Then now we have the problem of marginalization. We have what people call now the Anglophone problem, which is also different, which has to do with the 1961 constitutional change, where some people think that at the level of the federal system, they have changed the federal system, they have lost certain institutions.
Was abolished.
Yes, they have lost certain institutions like Kampawa, Maketumbot, and the rest, which they believe that is assimilation in their own perspective. Then now we have the Anglophone, that's the Anglophone problem. They will have now the Anglophone crisis that started in 2016 with lawyers and teachers that led to the picking of arms. So if we know all these three problems, then we need to know how to follow up solutions to this problem. And to find out solutions to the problem is for us to collaborate together. It's not that for us to blame the AMBA or to blame the government.
I don't think that
the time for the blame game is over. All of what you said can be summarized into two things which are said to be at the origin, at the center of almost all the crises around the world. We're talking about marginalization and discrimination. Now, here's the things that it's time for collaboration. Of course, there have been calls for collaboration, notably between the population and the security and defense forces and the administrative authorities, calls on the population to take up their responsibility as far as their security is concerned, as far as restoring peace and normalcy in those two regions is concerned. But do you think that this collaboration is working? Can it work? Can it produce the result? Should people, separatist armed groups, after an incident, to fight against them, to denounce them, to ask for solutions and things like that?
Mr. Babula Jonathan, I would not want to be naive. Permit me point it out clearly that the Boko Haram insurgents in the northern part of our country and the Anglophone problem or the war going on in the northwest and southwest region are two different issues which can never be treated on the same platform. The issue of Boko Haram was that of an unidentified group. We know their leaders and their leaders were not even ready for any dialogue. They didn't come up with a very unique problem that this is what we want. And they had any popular support from the ordinary citizens on whatever grievances they were tabling. But when you look at
an external attack.
Yes, it was an external attack. Yes. Outside. So when you look at the Anglophone problem, he analyzed it well, perfectly, the three things and all the like, but you have to understand that these are three things that have legitimate backings from the ordinary citizens who are the grassroots, and some of them at a certain moment after the escalation of tensions between the regime and the syndicates, the teachers' trade union and the lawyers and all the like in the northwest and southwest region, which we saw that the tensions had to aggravate and reach what we are today because of the arrogance of the regime in place. So it didn't work. So the issue is that you can't sell the goat in the market and hold the rope, because you would not be expecting the people to collaborate with you, whereas the proposals of the people, you reject the proposals, because quite a good number of enlightened despots, I want to say intellectuals and political leaders and religious leaders alike from the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon and even from the Francophone regions have been advocating for an inclusive dialogue, that of bringing the protagonists, the leaders of the movement for separation, and even those who were reivindicating for the amelioration of the conditions of the citizens of the northwest and southwest region, the Mancho BBC and Pen parents alike who are in prison. We've been advocating for their release. That has not been done by the regime in place. We noticed that quite a good number of proposals have been met by ordinary citizens. We take the case of late Cardinal Toomey, who wanted an Anglophone conference to be held in order to prepare a common platform for national dialogue. It was highly fought by the surrogates of President Biya, and finally the whole thing had to go, was aborted. And then if you would tell us that the war has been going on for over 5 years today because Cameroonians have not been lending their intelligence to the regime in place to use, I would tell that it's not true. The regime has always been in logics, and like I said on your platform, maybe in a TV program that was purely in French, if you look at what is happening, if you know what happened in America during the time of Franklin Roosevelt, you find that America was at war, and it was an external war, and in the United States Constitution, it's practically impossible for somebody to serve a third mandate. And because of the war, they thought that the incumbent was the right person that could be well placed to help American to maybe remedy the situation that was going out. So Cameroon in 2018, you find that there was a popular will for change, and it was thwarted simply because a school of thought said that Biya was the right person that could be kept in place so as to handle the Anglophone crisis. 2018, we are in 2021, and it's not working. And then finally, just a minute, you find that some people want the war to keep on going on, so that the aftermath, after Biya must have left, they told that a new person who is not from the camp cannot solve the problem because he does not master the problem. It's somebody who has been working closer to Mr. Biya. So they are using the war to prepare the after Biya. But like I told you...
But the question here, the point KD is raising here is the responsibility of the population with regards to their security and the restoration of peace and normalcy in those two regions. Should they not collaborate with the authorities, the military, the police, the gendarmerie, and all the forces to be able to restore peace and normalcy in the areas where they are living?
Mr. Babula Jonathan, my brother from the Northwest, though he's under a
answer the question and forget about me. Just answer the
casket, echoed that the citizens of the Northwest and Southwest region should collaborate. But I want to tell you that the people are caught in a dilemma. They are like one who is between the devil and the Red Sea. Because when we look at the two incidents, what happened in Boya, the killing of an innocent girl by a police officer. Let me tell you something. When we buy a dog and keep in the compound, it's for a dog to protect the stranger, to protect the children, and the property of the master. The police officer have that responsibility of protecting the citizens of the country. And when a police officer shoots at an ordinary harmless citizen, you find that it becomes very difficult for anyone to trust a man who has been trained. Now, when you go to...
a problem of trust.
There's a problem of trust. When you go now to the separatists, I don't know what to call them separatists, because we honestly have not heard the separatists or the amber fighters, as they call them, claim the responsibility of any casualties, anybody that was killed, and you hear somebody own up.
The incident of the girl that was butchered, the woman that was butchered at America with the machete, we saw the amber guys came out to identify. How can you tell me honestly that they have never ever owned up? It's academically dishonesty. Mr. Babila, will you say that they have never ever accepted responsibility?
Please, I religiously
we have cases that they have done.
And you had every time to speak.
Let's have some order.
Yes.
Let's have some order. It's true that we have some videos in which some of those non-state armed group or separatist armed groups have spoken, showing some
honestly speaking,
and so on. But
Mr. Babula,
talking about claiming responsibility is another thing.
That's what I mean, claiming responsibility, because what I'm talking of claiming responsibility, when you have a group that is well identified, you have their leaders, you have their spokespersons and all the like, and these spokespersons have even channels which they communicate, and it has never been done in any of their channels. It's difficult maybe to attribute any blame to them. Like I said, the ordinary citizens in the grassroots of the Northwest and Southwest region are caught between the devil and the Red Sea. Who is the devil here? They are dealing with a professional force that seems to be frustrated at this particular juncture, because what happened in Northwest and the Southwest region, where two innocent children, school children, were shot by well-trained police officers, leaves everybody perplexed, because you don't know who to run to. You don't know who to run to. Like I said, at this particular juncture, we would be talking to the regime in place and to the leaders of the separatist movement to come out from their extremes and try to see how they can arrive at a table for a consensus. on how to end the war in the Northwest and Southwest region, because we would not be politicizing it simply on the fact that these are not inanimate. They are human beings created in the image of God. So we cannot be here speaking with a lot of alacrity and people are dying that this person is the one doing this and other. Like I said, if it would be on blame game, I want to say I would have every reason to blame the regime in place, because I want to take an example. In 2018 and 2019, the CRM, that I'm a militant and a cadre special advisor, you find that the CRM had in one of its manifesto, it was on the peaceful marches that were organized in 2019. You have the AFCON 2019 that was missed, that did not hold. We asked for an exemplary chastisement of those who were supposed to coordinate the construction of the various infrastructures. We saw the Glyceman, and we said that we were asking for a peaceful resolution of the war in the Northwest and Southwest region. That wasn't done. Some of us were arrested and dumped in prison. 2 years later, CAN has not hold, AFCON has not hold, Olympia Stadium is not yet completed. You find that the bazooka for the bazooka, war, guns and rifles have not stopped the war in the Southwest and Northwest region.
Cannot give us the so much desired peace.
Honestly speaking, I want to round up to tell you that at this particular juncture, it would be a lie from the pit of hell. It would be practically exposing the citizens of the Northwest and Southwest region at risk to tell them, you have to run to this person for security, you have to run to this person for security. It is only the man that wears the shoes know where it pinches. So they who are there know exactly whom they feel protected with, and I want to invite them to collaborate with those who they feel protected with. But in the context of the law, I would be saying, we are advocating for ceasefire in the Northwest and Southwest region, for calm and normalcy to return there. That's the gospel truth.
All right. Now, if you had two words for this bloodshed and destruction to end, two words that goes to the parties involved, the main parties, the government, and the separatist armed groups, what will be those two words?
The two words I will tell them: you don't kill the person you claim you are fighting for.
Gideon.
Before I answer that toward, there are some few things I will need to actually correct. My brother said the arrogance of the government, but I don't believe there was any arrogance of the government. I remember when they were discussing in Bamenda, they came out with 7 points, the government accepted. They went up to 11 points, the government accepted. They went up to 21 points, the government accepted. And these guys still inside that hall with government minister were discussing with people in the diaspora that were giving them order. The government still accepted their 21 points, and they went up to federalism, which did not concern lawyers and teachers. How will you call that the arrogance? That's the first one. Please, permit me to talk. The second one.
You said we should stop the blame game. You are going back again.
That is what you are saying. You just said that. Sorry, you can't stop me. I must finish this. What he said. I must finish what he said. The second aspect that he said.
Now you go back to the arrogance of the regime. When you say you must finish, when you know there is a moderator, somebody moderator.
Are you going back to him?
Let's be on track, please.
Let him be the one talking.
Let's be on track, please. We will all speak and say whatever we have to say here. It is important to get all the opinions on all sides in order for us to come out of this issue. We have heard all what you're saying now, Kidia. They say compendium of resolutions or recommendations of the major national dialogue and all the things that government has done so far. And we are at a certain point where there is imperative need for something to be done to take us from where we are to that direction of peace, to that land of peace that we were before. And the question is, if there were two words that you will give to government and to separatist armed groups for us to come out of these things, what would be those two words?
The two words I will say are the two words the President of the Republic said in one of his speeches, that was 2018. It is time for us to forgive and move ahead to construct our country. That's all. If we don't forgive, then we'll stand at the same place. Most of us from the Northwest, we've lost our houses that have been burned. We've lost relatives. We've had all the hard times. But to move ahead, we just need to forgive.
Forgiveness.
And move ahead.
Forgiveness and moving ahead. All right, we are also moving ahead here. We want to go to the newsstands now to take a look at what the newspapers reported this week. And Immaculate Fogwe brings to us what the papers reported this week.
As reported by The Voice Weekender, Anglophone crisis, 700,000 children knocked out of classrooms. The Garden Post exclaims, military commander allegedly kills 13-year-old son of suspected separatist fighters in Nouassab Division, Dungamantum Division, Northwest Region of Cameroon. News Watch, United Nations Organization says Ekondo Titi school attack, serious violation of international human rights. Eden, EU Parliament pressures the government to end Anglophone crisis. The Chronicle Times questions whether achieving peace through the reconstruction plan is possible in Northwest and Southwest regions. The Garden Post says armed conflict in the Northwest and Southwest regions. U.S. diplomat warns killing of school children, bad publicity for separatist freedom struggle. The Sun quotes Honorable Joshua Osi, who says opposing reconstruction plan is inflicting double suffering on Anglophones. The Advocate, reconstructing the Southwest and Northwest regions. Corporate bodies make huge push by supporting the plan with 1.2 billion francs CFA. The Post Weekender, to frustrate book launch, government put CRM National President Professor Maurice Kamto under house arrest and equally militarizes Douala. The Horizon exclaims, presidential plan for the reconstruction and development of the Northwest and Southwest regions, catalyst for peace. The Post 2022 draft budget increases by 5% compared to 2021. Cameroon Insider, Fecafoot election, Rampu's mudslinging intensifies.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Thank you, Immaculate Fogwe, for the press review. I said earlier in the introduction of this program that Cameroon has ratified a series of international legal instruments protecting the people's right to public demonstrations or public protests. And among those legal instruments, we have the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the first optional protocol on the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the 1998 African Charter on Human and People's Rights. This is at the regional level, and the 1998 Protocol on the African Court on Human and People's Rights. And now at the national level, we have the preamble of the Constitution, the 1972 Constitution of the Republic, that makes provision for the respect of the right to public protests, and the principal legislation in Cameroon governing assemblies is law number 90/55 of 1990. But these laws, of course, have limitations. These laws, of course, have limits. These laws do not give room for people to go about and do whatsoever they want to do on the street. But these limits are often interpreted, and the implementation of these laws by the authorities, who are always telling us that they want to protect public peace and order. When they ban public meetings, when they ban public gatherings, are often interpreted as a violation of the people's right, a violation of these legal instruments, these national and international legal instruments. Kedia, what's your opinion about this?
Firstly, I want to be very clear that when we are talking about the authorization of demonstration, we should not limit it at the level of political party, because it is a fundamental human right for all citizens. And we've seen women in the Northwest and Southwest coming out to demonstrate. We've seen people coming out to demonstrate about areas being to be broken. We've seen people coming out to demonstrate because of electricity and water, and they have not been touched. So when you look at it generally, there are aspects in which people demonstrate and they send forces of law and order to protect them. So we should not look only at the political aspect to bring out a general view that will be myopic and discriminatory to the respect of the system in Cameroon.
It's not only about political parties.
Yes, I will even go to political parties
It's
now.
about all citizens. And
Good.
most often than not, those who take to the streets face with the resistance of security forces, water cannons, sometimes bullets, and things like that.
Now, we have violence in public place and we have disrespect of public order. They are two different things. Now, when a DO say, don't go and march, that's a public authority. And when you decide to go, that's disrespect of public order. We have violence in public places, like a man and the wife can decide to fight inside the market. That's violence in public place. It's against the law, but they have done it. So you should understand that the other one is impromptu and the other one needs authorization. Now when it goes now to the one that has to do with disrespect of public authority, when they say don't demonstrate, it's because they know that it is your fundamental human right, which is non-negotiable, to demonstrate. But you should also remember that where your fundamental human right ends, that is where the right of another person begins. So if you decide to say that it is my right to demonstrate, and you decide to go and demonstrate at the Ndokoti Carrefour, where there are children going to school, where you stop them from going to school, where there are women going to the hospital, and your demonstration will affect them from going to the hospital, that is violence. That now is violation of the right of other people. So when we are talking about our own right, we should also know that there are rights of other people. That is why now the authority that is in the middle think about your own right, which you are asking authorization, but he thinks also about the right of another people. If 200 people can have a demonstration at the Ndokoti Ranaba, we should note the effect that it will have in the entire Douala, which will affect other people's fundamental human right of movement too. So the issue is balance, which when we are analyzing our own, we should not be selfish, we should not be greedy, we should not be carried away with politics to think that we have our rights and the pregnant woman going to the hospital, that our demonstration would disturb them, should not go to the hospital, or children going to school should not go to school. We should think about our own right and think about the right of other people. Then we'll go now to a good conclusion to ensure that there is peace.
And it should be noted that in Cameroon, the law provides for declaration, or better still notification, not authorization. In other words, you just need to declare, to tell the officer or the administrative authority competent in that area, notably the divisional officers or the sub-divisional officers or divisional officers, that you're going to demonstrate from this point to this point. This is the objective of the protest, and we're going to start at this time. These are the persons who will be there. This is the person who is leading the protest, and in fact give information about that protest. And that law also provides that the authority can evaluate the situation with regards to peace and the maintenance of peace and order, and changes the venue of the event, or changes the date of the event, can propose that you take it to another date, or simply ban it completely. That should be very clear. But the issue here is about using these legal provisions as a tool to make sure that the people who have the right to protest do not enjoy that right. They can be politicians, they can be simple civilians, or people who are not involved in politics. They can just be inhabitants of a village who are protesting about something. Why do you, people of the opposition, Mutaga Silvanus, think that the authority who comes in to say no, don't protest, don't go to the streets, because there is risk of public disorder, public instability, and things like that, is not right?
Mr. Babula Jonathan, I remember those of us who are from the palace, it's commonly said that if they want to skin an animal, they all skin it and send it to the waste. So you find that the surrogates of the regime in place would always want to quote the law, and even if it is badly interpreted, they want to quote the law. A while ago, you read international treaties that Cameroon signed and ratified. I would take, for example, the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights. is to find that by ratifying the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights in 1984, the Cameroon Authority pledged to respect and protect the rights of freedom of association, expression, and assembly that are guaranteed in on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Now, there are three principles which are inside the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We have the international principle, which include the principle of non-discrimination. The principle of non-discrimination. Let's take just the first one, principle of non-discrimination. You will find that the actions of the civil administrator at times is discriminatory. We have seen parties of the opposition. We have seen opposition parties over the years made declarations for peaceful protest, over 350, and none was authorized. But when you get the regime, the political party, the CPDM, that is above the state of Cameroon.
No, the CPDM is a political party.
That is above the state of Cameroon.
Why are you saying that is above the state? It's a political party.
Yes, because it's
like
every other
political
party that does not respect the laws of the republic. Sometimes you find that it is like beyond the law, because what is...
And the lawyers and the magistrates and so on will always say that nobody is above the law.
Yes, that's what, but this is an exceptional party that is above the laws of Cameroon, because only them alone are Republican, and all of them alone benefit from the largesse of the administration. And it seems as if the administration is afraid of them. So all the administration is an arm of a wing of the CPDM in place. So like I told you, the principle of non-discrimination that is embedded in the International Declaration of Human Rights is not respected in Cameroon. You find that the administrative decision by the prefect is always discriminatory. Now we take the second one, the right to privacy. If you look at times, political associations may enjoy certain privacies. For example, the 1990 law doesn't guarantee or does not authorize, it doesn't give the prefect the effrontery, the audacity to go into a private place, which is the headquarters of a political party, where they are holding their meetings, and disrupt their meetings, because it is infringing the rights and the privacy of the political party. In as much as they come there, they can sit and listen to what is happening there. If that does have any threat to the normal life of the country, they can. But you find at times they just come there because of the maybe instructions from the party hierarchy in place who are working within the administration. They come to disrupt it, especially when that political party is one that is rivaling with the party in power. Now, when you look at it, you find that another international principle in the International Declaration of Human Rights is a ban on arbitrary arrest and detention. If you look at, most often you find that there is a vis of procedure in the arrest of people. An arrest of a person, sometimes they tell you that before a police officer arrests you, he has to tell you your charges and provide a legal document on why he has to arrest you. Sometimes you find that they arrest militants of opposition parties, dump them in cell, and it is then they go around looking for fallacious charges to attribute to them. And lastly,
during peaceful manifestations?
There is a peaceful manifestation. There's a peaceful manifestation. The law doesn't give, the law says you declare and indicate the itineraries, and the sub-prefect has the duty to inform the forces of law and order to supervise or maybe to follow it up for the security. But like I told you, I say it's discriminatory because only the regime's party, the CPDM, has been able for the past 10 years to organize their rallies and marches, either to support President Biya or to do this peaceful, and that's without any intimidation, without any harassment. And now let's look at a fair trial you find that
we are not talking about
yes, I am
trials
talking,
today.
I want to go to
that will be for another day. Probably those are some of the things that
yes,
happen when
you talk
some
of
persons are arrested.
You talk
during
of
public
Cameroon.
protest.
You talk of Cameroon ratifying these things. I want to tell you that, in as much as you said it in your introduction, I want to tell you that I wanted to bring out the elements that are embedded in the different treaties that Cameroon ratified. In as much as they have ratified those treaties, they have the obligation to respect them in toto.
They have the obligation to respect them, of course.
Now, when you come even to the Constitution, let me tell you something. If you look at the preamble of the Constitution of Cameroon in line 13, let me read it. It says, no person shall be harassed on grounds of his origin, religion, philosophical or political opinions, belief, subject to the respect of the public policy. In line 16 of the preamble of the Constitution of Cameroon, tell that freedom of communication, expression of press, of assembly, of association, and of trade unionists or unionism, as well as the right to strike, shall be guaranteed under the conditions fixed by the law of the Republic. You find that it is embedded in our constitution that political parties, trade union can strike. We have seen last time university graduates, doctors at the higher institution in Yaoundé,
at the Ministry of Higher
Education, they were beaten up there. Whereas it is their right. You find that the regime in place, finds that if there is anything that doesn't come up, maybe to throw flowers at them, they will do everything possible to stop you, even with stern brutality and means that are unorthodox.
But what the authorities have often said, have often advanced as reasons why they are either prohibiting or simply banning public manifestations is the threat to public peace and order. That's what they have always put forth in some of the decisions that they have taken, like what they took recently here in Douala. Kedia, Robert, what's your understanding of the fact that Professor Maurice Kamto, National President of the CRM political party, is in Douala, and then the whole place is invaded by police officers? His hotel is kept under what can be qualified as house arrest, and then police officers everywhere interrupting circulation, and then the launching of the book of the politician is prohibited.
You see, first of all, I'm a communicator of the CPDM party. I'm a proud person at that. A political party that have representative at the level of the regions, at the level of the National Assembly, Senate, councillors, and the communes. For me to come and talk about a party that has no representation is an abuse to my person. Please allow me to talk. I respect my right to talk. You talk of fundamental human rights, so respect me to talk. Can you respect me? You were not talking about respect of human rights. Allow me to enjoy my right of expression. You are depriving me.
You forgot to say that the CPD has been rigging elections.
Please, I have my right to expression. Please, can you give me?
You are educating. Okay. We are talking about the decision of the administrative authorities. We are talking about the deployment of police officers because of the presence of a political party leader in Douala. We are talking about the deployment that caused a lot of trouble, so to speak, to the citizens who couldn't go about their duties as normally because of the police officers who interrupted circulation in some parts of the town. We are talking about these decisions. It's not about a political party.
Okay, let me go ahead now.
What do you
Firstly,
think
I want
that?
to make this very, very clear that in Cameroon, when it comes to demonstration and movement, Cameroon respect that more than 95%. But I've realized that on this platform, we want to level it at the level of political party and not the level of nationality. Now, let us talk about it at the level of political party. Let me talk about it now at the level of political party and Maurice.
Before you proceed, let me make it clear that we are talking about public protests, not about public protests by militants of political parties. We are talking about public protests by citizens. And now we are taking a case which was not even about public protest, but which was something that falls within the ambit of decisions taken by administrative authorities who say they want to protect public peace and order. And this is the decision which they took about the presence of a political party leader in Douala, deploying police officers everywhere, interrupting circulation, and banning the launching of his book. What do you think about this?
From the information I have, and in my capacity of a communicator of the CPDM, I don't know any administrative authority that refused Maurice Kamto from launching his book.
About the deployment of police officers everywhere, interrupting circulation.
All right. One, we will never ever say that the presence of police officers will interrupt circulation because they are there for smooth circulations. And secondly, we have one of the best schools that form police. You know that Thomas Sankara studied here? You know that Muhammadu Buhari studied here in our Enam and the rest? We have the forces of law and order that are well trained to do everything. Their presence is for law and order and not disorder. So when you see them there and you start to say they are there for disorder, I ask myself a lot of questions.
I didn't say they are there for disorder.
I am saying that
one,
their presence cannot interrupt. Instead, their presence is for circulation. One, the first thing I would like all of us here to agree is that Cameroon has one of the most intelligent units when it comes to finding and investigation. And when they decide to take an act, then it is for security. And the forces of law and order that came out, they were there to ensure that there is law and order. That is their duty.
The police officers were there to ensure that there is law and order.
Mr. Babla Jonathan, when I hear Mr. Robert Kleda speaking with a lot of alacrity on the very sensitive issues, I want to think that he has a long way to go. Taken from the line 13 of the preamble of our Constitution, no person shall be harassed on grounds of his origin, religion, philosophical or political opinions, or belief, subject to the respect of public policy. No person shall be harassed. Professor Maurice Kamto was harassed in his hotel by police officers. Forget of the decision of the prefect. Do you support that?
Do you know the meaning of harassment? Harassment means physical.
Please.
Was there any physical harassment?
Please.
We know the definition of harassment. Excuse me, was there any harassment?
Please,
there is a definition for harassment.
Mr. Kleda, for over 15 years I've been teaching literature in English and English language, so I don't think I'm here to learn in English language.
All right, please, go ahead. What happened with Professor Maurice Kamto and the launching of his book?
Yes, like I said, do you, Mr. Babla Jonathan, see if they go and block you from leaving your hotel room without Maury, the anti-riot arsenal and gendarmes everywhere with tear gas and other like, telling your customers that they cannot have access to the shop where your book is sold or is sold? Is it not harassment? I tell you it's contrary. It's against line 13 of the preamble of our Constitution. And when I get my brother from the CPDM talking of a big communicant of an old quack of a party that
is in power.
Please.
A political party that is in power. You don't have any representative. You are talking on behalf of who? Your party has no representative.
He tells me that
the book of Professor Maurice Kamto.
Let me tell you something. We are asking ourselves, what is inside that book that the administration of Cameroon is blocking Cameroonians from reading? The Bible says, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Remember, that is a book.
I hope the book was not the Bible.
Why the launching was banned?
Honestly speaking, there isn't any concrete reasons to justify the banning of the launching. If not only that, they saw Professor Maurice Kamto's popularity as being one that would be evident maybe in 2021 after it was shown in 2019 during his return from Europe. And they think that it would be a way of unmasking the lie of the regime in place, that the CPDM is dead.
But the authorities are saying that his presence, there were some intelligence that indicated
we are talking about
there could be disorder.
Yes, this is the same administration that has been unable to use the intelligence to tell us why they can. Was not held in 2019.
Focus on Kamto.
We have billions of francs of
CFA
that were embezzled, and we've not heard them say anything about their intelligence. We are talking about authorities that were unable to tell us who shot those 3 little girls that died in the northern regions that were shot by gendarme officers and soldiers with live bullet, and Issa Truman said they were shot in Mali.
Go back to
and
your
you tell
camp
me of
to-
intelligence.
you are running away from
Let
your
me come
camp
back to what I was saying,
Come back
Mr.
to your camp to-
Mr. Babula Jonathan. We are running to a point in which you will find this guy storm into a church simply because Professor Maurice Kamto is in one of those churches attending mass on Sunday. And another thing that makes me sad, I want to be weeping, is that there are Cameroonians like Mr. Cledel. They are ready to remain in a perpetual posture of obscurity, of lies. I thought in 2021, looking at that, the regime is almost pushing to the end.
According to you.
He would have been
According to
repenting.
you,
So
your party are no representative,
all right,
so
you
you
have
will
been
not give
repenting.
me of the CPD.
You- all right,
MLC has no representative in the
right,
field, so
this
you
is
are not
right
in
now,
a better place to
Mr.
talk.
Mr.
You have no
Permit
lessons
me-
to give.
permit me,
You have no
take,
political capacity to give me
interviews of the week,
advice.
and we'll be right back in some few minutes. Interviews of the week.
We know what to do. We need to do it. And the force has failed. Amen. The Lord is good. And all the time. If the force has failed, then we use dialogue. If you use dialogue, we will stop our children dying. And for every blood that is shed, ask the consequence of it. He asks for vengeance from God. And the time will come, we will plant crop, they will not grow. Because of the blood of the innocent that are being shed every day. Even the military that are being killed, they were not there to sign agreement in 1960, in 1961. And why must they die? Even the Anglophone military, why must they die? Why must they die? There's no force, there's no fight from outside, but inside we are cleaning ourselves and we don't find solution to it. Because when you leave this place, by the time you move across after Buya, everything seems to be normal. So out of 10 regions, 2 can die, nothing cares. Let our children, let our children, let our children.
It's very.
I came to pay a visit to our fellow friends who are detained in New Bell prison here in Douala for the past 14 months. Arbitrarily, illegally. Our motto is peaceful change through the ballot box. This is our choice. This is our ideology. Basically, we stand by that, but we do not fear fight. We do not fear fight. If they impose fight on us, then we will fight. My hope is that all our friends, political friends who are detained, will be released before the end of this year, so that they will celebrate all the end of year feast in their families. There is no reason why they should be in prison.
Our national.
Those were interviews of the week, and we're rounding up this edition of The Insider. Begin with you, Kedia Robert. What will be that thing that you would want Cameroonians to do, you want the authorities to do for us to have a peaceful country?
Firstly, the one that concerns me in particular is the issue that's happening in the Northwest and the Southwest region. It's for time for us indigents of those two regions to look at each other in the face and decide to say the truth so we can bring a lasting peace. I appreciate the elites and leaders of the Southwest region. They are putting a lot of collective security to ensure that there is peace before the support of the government is coming in. And I'll also ask to the elite of the Northwest region, they should not go ahead individually. We all of the Northwest region should collaborate together to bring also peace at the level of the Northwest region.
Truth and
at the
unity.
level of
Right.
the level of movement, I just want to tell Cameroonians that movement is being respected in Cameroon. SDF did that in Buya and the rest. And to conclude, if a political party that has a coup d'etat to remove Paul Biya in power, they would not accept them from having a movement. Clear.
2 minutes.
Honestly speaking, I want to tell the boys who are terrorizing the Northwest and Southwest region, whether they are uniform officers or non-uniform officers, trained or not trained, to understand that any human life they take, they will be accountable for one day before God, because life is not going to end on earth here. And to those who run their mouths on TV platform when they know for certain that there is a way that they would have followed it to resolve the crisis in the Northwest region, and it has not been followed, to understand that history will judge them. Those of us from the CRM, we want a peaceful change, and we don't have any coup d'etat in the brain, but this regime has been organizing coup d'etat through rigging of elections, and we know time will come that it will stop. And if they think that they will walk on people's blood to enter into the next republic, it will not be with the help of the CRM, because the CRM will fight against the murder of any single Cameroonian right up to the last drop of our blood. We will not tolerate any genocide from the CPDM regime.
Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for this edition of The Inside. Goodbye.